This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah. I'm very excited about this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Mhm. So my
Hey,
husband, Dr. Love, is here. Dr. Rowe teaches at the university with me. She teaches in my organizational leadership program. Glenda is the master signer at our church. She prays, signs, teaches the kids, teaches the adults.
Oh, wow.
And so we're kind of a collective family here tonight. And there
All
will be
right.
others that will join.
how you doing, Jerel? Good to meet you, young man.
Great to meet you as well. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, well, it is 6:30, so I want to welcome everybody to the Friday Night Chats with Dr. Karen Love. This chat is actually sponsored by the Love Family Christian Foundation. And so every month, with the exception of Black History Month, I have a guest speaker every week. I get to celebrate some really, really neat people on the platform. And I'm excited about this discussion tonight, particularly cousin, because I have my cousin on again, another cousin in the family, Dr. Rowe. But it is so exciting to welcome you to the platform. Now, let me just do my introduction here. So the media press touts Virginia for proving itself to be a true launching pad for some of the music's best and brightest artists. And thank you, Jerel, for your website to give me this information. Missy Elliot, D'Angelo, Timbaland, and Pharrell Williams. So tonight I am excited to present an up and coming R&B artist, producer, CEO, Jerel Crocket. Jerel Crocket grew up around gospel music. At the age of 15, he learned how to play the piano. At the age of 16, he learned the ropes of showbiz on his first job at King's Dominion. And yes, I did my homework, learning both pop music and dancing. He received his classical and gospel vocal training from the Richmond Boys Choir at the age of 16. He is credited for his performance for singing the National Anthem at the Wizards game, Motown Gospel, the Real Housewives of the Potomac, National Harbor, MGM, Casino and Resort, and collaboration with Kenny Lattimore. Jerel's recording accomplishments includes We Go Up and No Pressure, which received artist acclaim as #6 on the Richmond Billboard charts. So welcome to the platform, Jerel.
Hello.
Hey.
How's everybody?
All right, tell me all about Jerel Crocket. Who is Jerel Crocket?
I'm a student of the art of music. I guess that's the easiest way I can sum it up. I'm a student. And I'm always learning. I'm always trying to get better and grow a connection with my listeners.
Okay. Have you always loved music and pursued it with such deep passion as you are now?
I think being around music at an early age, around 6 years old, I think my parents had an idea that I was going to be a singer of some sort. So when I got to middle school, there was a choir called the Richmond Boys Choir that were holding auditions. And I auditioned, and it was an instant, connection with the choir. And I got a lot of my formal training in the R&B and the classical, a lot of musical theory that I gained by being in the choir. I think that choir kind of helped build my foundation.
Good. Now, how would you describe your music?
Well, my music actually took a lot of different directions as I got older. In the beginning, it was whatever was on the radio. Anything on the radio that was popular at the time. I think probably the late 90s. I think Usher was really popular. I think Tyrese and a lot of male R&B artists were really popular in the late 90s. And I gravitated towards the mainstream R&B music. And I held my first talent show in 6th grade. And the teacher, the course teacher, she wanted me to do a performance in front of the class. And that class talent show, I guess it was so much of a success. She said, well, do you think you could do that whole thing in front of the whole school? And I'm like, the whole school? Like, what? So this is me at 12 years old. At 12 years old, the teacher wanted me to do that song, a Usher song, in front of the whole school. And it was like 300 people in the audience. And I was kind of scared. I was kind of nervous. But after that night, I think it was like 1999. I remember like it was yesterday. After that night, I knew that after the reception that I received from the audience, and especially the girls, I think that that's what made me want to pursue music 100%. Like I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be an entertainer. And I had no doubt in my mind that that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. Well, so I hear you talk about perfect pitch in the other interviews, and I have my son Michael on and his fiance Abby. And when Michael was growing up in the 3rd grade, he basically got kicked out of the choir because he was always challenging the teacher with vocal warm-ups and pitch and tone. Were you that child as well?
I was a little bit more humble, and I wasn't so like trying to push. I wasn't trying to challenge the teachers that much. I was kind of the quiet guy in the corner. Hey, Jerel, do you think you could do this? Okay. I was kind of shy. I was really shy kind of back then. And I didn't even really know that I had an ear for music. I just felt that when a song starts, I automatically can just hear, is it the right key? Is it the wrong key? Is it too high? Is it too low? I can just automatically hear the exact note. And one day we did a classical piece at the Carpenter Center. The Carpenter Center is like a classical opera venue in Richmond, downtown Richmond. And we did an orchestra piece with the Richmond Symphony. And one of the sections of the song was like a complete a cappella part where it was no instruments that started the whole song off. And you had to hear the exact note in order to start the song off correctly. And I think we were on a bus somewhere and we were trying to practice the song on the bus. And the director didn't have his pitch pipe with him. And he was like, Jerel, do you know the first starting pitch to this particular song? And I just hummed the note out of thin air, just hummed it. And he actually had his pitch pipe in his pocket. And he was like, let me just see if you were exactly right. Jerel, that's the exact note. And I'm like, okay, is that a big deal? Like, I don't understand. Is that a big deal? So then he said, okay, let's try it again. Let's try it for this song over here. He gave me another song. Hum the note, Jerel, hum it. So I hummed the note. He went to the pitch pipe, found the exact pitch, and he said, Jerel, that's exactly the correct pitch of that song too. So then he was like, Jerel, you have a perfect pitch. And I'm like, what does that mean? You know? So that day I discovered that I have like an ear that only like 1 in 1,000 people have. It's like an ear that it kind of like you can see sound with your ears. It's kind of like you can see the sound. And I use that ability to learn how to play piano by ear. And I learned how to teach myself how to play very complex music just by listening without having any type of sheet music or any type of reading or theory. I can kind of just hear the note and I can pick up very complex music. So that kind of opened the door for a lot of different possibilities.
So what is the technical definition of perfect pitch? Is it vibrations? Is it tonality?
It's the ability to identify, your brain can identify the frequency, the exact frequency of audio.
Okay.
So if you have a tuner that's coming to the house to tune your piano, he's using some type of device that's reading the tonal frequency and it's measuring it on a scale. And there are thousands and thousands of individual frequencies that one note could be. But my ear can hear the exact frequency to know if it's a couple notes off, a couple notes too high, a couple notes too low. I can hear the exact and pinpoint it exactly. And it's kind of weird for most people to kind of really understand it, but it's like really natural for somebody that has it.
So if a note doesn't resonate with you, let's say there's dissonance, right? And you're waiting for you want to resolve the dissonance, right? By the end of the song, right? And so if it's not resolved, what's your response to it?
It depends on the context of what kind of music it is.
Okay.
Because some music is dissonant. some music is dissonant. Some music you don't want it to sound so perfect. Some music you want it to have a little bit of, I guess, dissonance. I mean, it can be used as a way to create tension in music in a positive way. But yeah, sometimes I can hear a song that could be slightly pitchy, and it can definitely be unsettling sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in the church and you hear someone singing a song and that one note out of everything else was
You're
off,
just
would
a
that bother
little
you?
shy of the
Yeah.
right note. I would have to just say, hey, you're just a little bit flat. Just give me, you're almost there, but you're just not quite hitting it.
It's not quite there. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Now, who are some of the artists you admire? Who has inspired you?
Every day I discover a new artist.
Okay.
I think there's so many different genres of music. I think you have to be open. You have to be open.
Okay.
I think the typical African-American family will grow up on, R&B and gospel, and sometimes jazz. But sometimes I think it's good to explore even further than that. I think you should go to the classical. Sometimes you can listen to folk music. It just depends on just how versatile you want to be.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, are you gonna leave it there? You paused.
My father is very diverse in his musical taste.
Okay.
He has a CD of Steely Dan, Jim Brickman, who's a piano player. He's a instrumental contemporary piano player. He had a CD called Piano by Candlelight. It was a Time Life collection CD. You remember Time Life back in the day?
Remember. Yes, I do.
Well, it was a CD that was out, and they would play like very popular like love ballads. And it was just a guy just playing like maybe 20 popular songs just on piano. And my dad would play it around the house all day long. And I'm like, where's the bass? Where's the drums? Like, where's the hip hop element? And he was like, no, this is what I like. This is, this is really nice music. And this is me at like middle school. And I'm like, turn it off, Dad, turn it off. This is not cool music. This is not cool. But he just kept playing it and he kept playing it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn those songs on that CD. So one day I sat down on the piano, and one by one, I learned every single song by ear on the piano, all the classical, all of the different types of jazz that was on the CD. I learned everything by ear. And I had a different appreciation for contemporary music.
Okay. Did you have to change your technique and how you were playing?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
So when you learn things your way, sometimes you can hit a plateau or a roadblock that can really have you scratching your head like, hold on, I was doing so good, but now I feel like I'm not growing anymore. I'm not developing anymore. Something's missing. So my dad, he said, Jerel, you've been playing by ear for about a year now, but I think you could probably learn more by going to a teacher and learning more technical things.
Sure.
So he took me to a piano player in the Richmond area. And he said, okay, kid, play something for me. Let me hear what you got. So I sat down and I played him one of those songs that I learned by ear. And he was like, you've never had a lesson before? And I'm just like, no. He's like, that's incredible. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Your hands look terrible. Your technique looks terrible. Your fingers are totally crooked. They're just not the way they're supposed to be.
Sure.
And I was experiencing tendonitis in my hand.
Oh,
I was experiencing like slight carpal tunnel in my hands.
Wow.
Because I was playing flat fingered. I wasn't playing how they suggest that you play with a curved, like you're holding a ball in your hand, like this. I was playing like this.
Right.
So all of this, when I started to play more aggressive styles of music, like all of this just started to just hurt.
My goodness.
And he was like, well, that's why it's hurting, man. That's why it's hurting, because you don't have the proper technique. You need to relearn how to play the piano. Totally. So it took me almost 6 months to like just totally relearn my approach to piano. And till this day, I haven't had any problems with my technique at all.
Did you did you feel like you were giving up something if you learned the technical aspect of music? Was that taken away from some of your style? And
Well, as far as my hand technique, no, it actually helped preserve my hand from getting fatigued, because I was getting fatigued playing certain styles incorrectly. But now I have the proper form, I can play longer and I have more agility in my hand. So it actually improved it.
Well, let me tell you about my piano teacher. She told my mother never to bring me back to a lesson because I could hear by ear. And so I fought it. It's like I fought the technique for the longest time. And I tell you, to my detriment, because today I'm still struggling with that. So I'm so glad you shared the technical aspect of it, because every time I tried to go back and improve, because you do hit a plateau. I hear myself playing the same beat every Sunday. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm boring myself. I have to bore everybody else. Hallelujah, move on.
It's always good to remain a student of your craft. Always remain a student of your craft, because there's always something that you don't know. There's always something that's missing from your art.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Do you think that your style has evolved since the beginning of your career?
Definitely. I would say when I got closer to the business side of music, I had to decide, do I want to do this solely for fun, or do I want to make a living from this as well? So it's performing music for fun, and then it's the music business.
Yeah.
And they're totally different things. And I think if you want to have a lucrative career, you have to kind of look at the market and say, okay, this is fun, but this is fun and it also can pay the bills.
Yes.
So you have to kind of look at what's a lucrative genre for what your skill set, for what you have in your skill set. And in the beginning, I wasn't pursuing music as a solo artist that much in the, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I was more based in the jazz realm. I started to develop more interest in instrumental music. I studied artists like Herbie Hancock, people like, I'm trying to think who else you would probably know in the jazz realm. Of course, the Bob James, people like that. And I had a band that I formed with one of my relatives, and we did pretty well in the jazz market. We did a couple jazz festivals. We did the Richmond Jazz Festival. We opened up for a few artists in DC, a couple jazz clubs in DC. And I felt that there was a level that I could achieve if I went solo and started to pursue mainstream R&B. And that was a moment that I felt took me to the next level. And there was a wider market for my potential in the R&B world. So that's when I felt like I needed to make the appropriate shift, and it's definitely paid off.
Was it difficult to develop your business model for entertainment? I know that you are the CEO of Jerel Crocket Entertainment. So was that difficult, like the marketing and the budgeting and the advertising?
Oh my gosh, that is the hardest part. If you were to ask me what's the hardest part, I would say that is the hardest part. Because most singers and musicians, that's what they want to be, singers and musicians. They don't want to be organizers of productions and putting together budgets and rollout plans. That's a lot of work on top of your art. Just on top of your actual performing, you have to know, how can I get this art out to the world? Successfully. And you do have to kind of play it by ear at first and see what works and what doesn't work. I had an idea to be a producer a couple years ago. And one day somebody said, hey, I got this fashion show coming up, and I think you could perform for the fashion show. And I said, well, I don't really know if I can perform for the fashion. I'm not really in the artist realm right now. So what he did was, he said, Jerel, this might be an opportunity for you to just go back into the artist world.
Okay.
So that show was a expo in Richmond, Virginia, called the Southern Women's Show. It was at a raceway complex, very, very popular event every year in Richmond.
Mhm.
And I did a performance there. And turns out that that footage that I recorded for that show, I submitted that footage to a contest. And that contest was to be the opening act for Tank. Tank is the R&B singer under Atlantic Records. He's an R&B singer. He had a group with Tyrese and Genuine, people like that.
Mhm.
And that kind of sparked my interest in saying, you know what? I'm going to go solo. I'm going to go 100%. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to acquire a songwriter that can help me write some commercially viable music. I was thinking more like a businessman.
Mhm.
You can do it all by yourself, or you can get professionals in every field and just
Yeah.
hire them individually and just put together a team.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what I did. I have a producer friend of mine that produces with everybody from Jay-Z to Tamar Braxton, everybody. And he makes all the beats. And he said, well, I got a writer that can write for you.
Mhm.
He writes for Kenny Lattimore. So I said, well, Kenny Lattimore is male R&B. I think he'd be a great fit for me.
Mhm.
So he writes a couple songs. The first song that I released was called No Pressure. And the song made it to the radio station. And that's kind of where everything kicked off. And I had to learn about the marketing and the promotion. And that's kind of where it all kind of kicked off.
Okay. So No Pressure, that was listed as number 16 on the chart.
Yes, number
Yeah.
16. So
Mhm.
it's a radio station in Richmond. It's owned by Radio One, Urban One. And the song was submitted for a contest, and the audience had a chance to decide whether they wanted the song to play or never play the song ever again.
Mhm.
And this is my first song, so I'm really nervous. Like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? And out of 5 callers, 4 out of 5 said, play this song. And I said, all right.
Yeah.
So that song became a song that played every day for 5 months on that station,
Oh my
every
goodness.
day.
I see that
Yeah.
it's right below Bruno Mars and right above Maxwell.
Yes, it
So
is.
that's
That
impressive
was the
positioning
airplay
right there.
charts. Yes, that's the airplay charts, which means it was getting the most airplay on that radio station.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, what do you think about shows like The Voice or America's Got Talent? What's your
I
perception?
do think that there was a time where those shows really played a big role in developing artists' careers. I think the Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, Fantasia,
Mhm.
I think they were definitely a launching pad.
Mhm.
But I do have a small gripe with that show, or shows like that. And I feel like they have turned into something different. I feel like they have turned into launching pads for the judges, the launching pads for the
Oh, I
judges'
see.
music, because
Mhm.
the judges are celebrities.
Yeah.
And honestly, from a business side, are you going to tune in to watch a stranger, or are you going to tune in to watch a celebrity that everybody
Sure.
knows?
Yeah.
So it's really a marketing technique.
Mhm.
Let's pay these judges $5 to $10 million to come to judge on our show, to
Yeah.
draw in ratings for one season. We're going to pay maybe 500 to I don't know how much they're going to pay the actual winners, but I'm pretty sure the winners aren't getting $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
the
tough.
winners, they win for that particular season, and then
Mhm.
it's time for the next season, and then you forget about the one that won last season. You got to
Yeah.
think about who's winning that season. Then they throw that one away. It's like an assembly line, So I feel like they're not as effective as they could be, because I think they're focusing more on the ratings, drawing the ratings from the judges.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Well, listen, I heard your interview with Randy Wilson, and the two of you were talking, you were having a discussion about vocal talents versus good vibes. and you were talking
Yes.
about the skillfulness of the artist. So can you just draw, I want you to draw out the distinction between the two.
I think vocal technique versus vocal character. I think character wins over technique and skill.
Okay.
I think people don't connect to skill. I think people connect to feeling.
Okay.
Would you understand? You kind of know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I
the
think a
emotional side,
singer,
yes.
a singer that's hitting all the right notes, that's just perfectly, just
Mhm.
everything's where it needs to be, but there's no soul.
Yeah.
And then it's the person that might be a little pitchy, but you felt their pain, you felt their passion.
Yeah.
I feel like they can connect to a listener stronger through the feeling and the passion.
Mhm.
And I think music today, it has become less technical. It has become a little bit more dumbed down, but I do feel like there is still a lot of soul and passion in the music that's here
Yeah.
today.
Good. Thank you for that. So how would your audience describe you?
My music is definitely for the ladies. For the ladies. That
And
is
you made
definitely
that
my
clear
audience.
since you're 6 years old, right?
Totally. My audience knows that the music is for the ladies.
Mhm.
It's for the fellas to play for their ladies.
Mhm.
And I want to give off the positive, romantic, just cool vibes.
Yeah.
Cool vibes. I don't like music that's overly sexual or overly just explicit. I kind of stray away from music like that. I kind of do music it could still be sexy, but it just needs to have something that's tasteful about it and
Yeah.
done in a very tasteful fashion.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Now, so do you create, so here's a question, let's see. Do you create for yourself or for your fans? I know you like to satisfy your fans, but are they driving particular songs? I know that you're within that same R&B genre, but do the fans drive your creativity?
I think it's a balance. It's definitely a balance. I think the way I look at it now is, what do I enjoy naturally that the people would also enjoy?
Yeah.
What's a vibe that I can easily just get into that I know people are already digging? Or I can find an artist that I'm inspired by. Let's say I like her or Daniel Caesar. I was like, you know what? I want a song that makes me feel like that. And I would just try to go in and say, okay, I'm on that vibe right now. A her or a Jasmine Sullivan or something like that. And just try to find a way to get into a vibe that's similar to that. And that way I know that there's already a market for that too.
Okay, yeah, the market's there. Yeah. So how do you maximize your platform?
Word of mouth,
Okay,
knowing how to utilize social media,
okay, that's huge.
definitely building your brand through collaboration. Collaboration is very important.
Mhm.
You want to look at other people that are in your genre and say, well, how can I work with them and connect with their audience? And their audience can connect with my audience. And it we can kind of like grow each other at the same time. I would like to say collaboration is kind of the way most big name artists kind of grow. Opening up for other big artists, that's kind of how most artists kind of get out there, by affiliating themselves with other artists that are bigger than them. So I would say that's the biggest way to grow your platform.
And now since COVID-19, I know that you've had to stay motivated the last couple of years, right? So has it changed your strategies in terms of building your platform at all?
Oh yeah, it's totally changed. I think the first year COVID hit, there was definitely a dark cloud on the industry. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, is the industry over? Is there ever gonna be a live show ever again? 2019, I invested a lot of income into marketing my music, shooting music videos. I put together a pretty big production on my music video, and music videos they don't necessarily make you money, but they help give you visibility to attract other eyeballs to your brand. And I felt 2020, okay, I'm going to capitalize off of everything that I put in 2019.
Right.
But right at the top of 2020, everything just went crazy.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like a missed opportunity to kind of recoup on everything that I invested the year before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now COVID is a reality now in the industry. So we have to kind of figure out, okay, well, how can we still release music, but also find a way to monetize our brands?
Yeah.
And you just have to get creative about it. That's just it.
Yeah, day by day, right?
Yeah.
So Jerel, how do you define success?
You know, that's probably the best question that I've heard in an interview, because I think people define success by what they have or material things or what their bank account looks like. But I think it comes down to, can you overcome your own fears or your own doubts?
Sure.
And can you outdo yourself? Can you become a better version of yourself?
Right.
And
that's good.
Do you love where you are right now in what you're doing? And do you fully believe in yourself?
Yeah.
I think comparing yourself to others sets you up for disappointment. But if you can become a better version of yourself than you were last year, outdo yourself.
Yeah.
That's really
That's
the
good.
challenge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, I am going to open up the floor for the younger ones who have questions for you, and they know more about Tank and Lee Majors, and well, I know about Michael Jackson, but
All right.
but I have some younger people on the platform who would love to ask you questions. So,
All right, perfect.
Hey, Jerel.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
First off, we love music and just love your art.
Thank you.
One of the things you said a bit earlier, you're talking about consistently being a student in this.
Yes.
So I think my question is more about where are you looking to evolve? Where are you spending your time, like say, like adding stuff to your toolkit, or what are you focusing on right now?
I think being the artist and the business owner, owning your own, kind of like, it's like almost like operating your own record label. It's almost like you are the CEO of your own business and you're wearing a lot of different hats. But I think that you start off with knowing that it's the product first, and then it's the marketing of the product. And if your product is amazing, it just makes everything easy. So focus on making sure your product is on point, but then you want to study, okay, what is the best way that I can monetize this, or I can put this in front of as many people as possible? And who can I network with? Who can I connect with? Who can I collaborate with that's going to get this out to as many people as possible? And for me, I'm always on YouTube. I'm always looking at tutorials. I'm always looking at strategies. I'm always looking at music marketing channels that have kind of tapped into what's going on TikTok and Instagram, what's going on with the reels and algorithms. I think if you understand how that world works and your music is on point, or whatever your product is that you're trying to sell, if you can understand the product side and the marketing side and put them both together, I think that's the way to win.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
No
It
problem.
always seems like the distribution is different now, right? Instead of like running towards, going from every radio station, like say back in the 90s, early 2000s, right?
Totally.
Having the advantage of like YouTube, we're trying to figure out how to maximize that, like Spotify and working with those plays. it seems like it's shifted. How do you feel with that? How have you tried to answer that?
Well, the industry 20 years ago was a label is going to take a chance on somebody that they heard somewhere that can really sing. I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to give them a record deal, and I'm going to put them through artist development. And then I'm going to put them in the studio with all these producers. We're going to spend a bunch of money on the production, and then we're going to see what happens. But that doesn't happen anymore. What happens now is everybody's a bedroom producer, a bedroom studio singer. They're recording their own music. They're getting it mixed on their own. They're putting it out on TuneCore or DistroKid. They're putting it out on their own. And then they put it on Instagram or TikTok, and the labels will see who's popping, whose numbers are up, who's getting these big follows, big shares, who's going viral. And then the labels will say, we already know that this works. So we feel better about investing our money and our big machine behind something that we know that's already going to work. And then the labels will talk to the radio stations and say, hey, this is it right now, because it's already popping on the internet. Radio stations nowadays, you can't just give them a demo or give them a CD and say, hey, can you play this? They want to know what the song is already doing. And that's kind of how the industry is now. It's kind of like you have to get the ball rolling on your own, and then everything picks up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah. So Terry Smith has a question, and he's trying to log in, so he'll be in a minute. Other questions?
We gotta know, what was the Usher song that you did in the talent show?
Oh, let me tell you. This was 1998, I think. It was the My Way album.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I'm really dating myself. I'm really dating myself right now. The song that was hot at the moment was "You Make Me Want to Leave the One I'm With."
Yeah.
Great song.
Still
great today.
do. Yeah, so I did that. I got me an outfit, had like the baseball cap, and I did like the whole dance break and like the moonwalk and all that across the floor.
Of course.
And like all the girls were just screaming. It was amazing.
I actually have that CD, I think still stashed away somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was an amazing CD.
I
Definitely.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good deal. Terry, you finally made it on.
Gotta unmute. He's muted.
I can hear you. I can hear you, Terry.
You can hear him?
Yeah.
I can hear him. I hear you, Terry.
Oh, he's still on mute. Okay, there you go. There you go,
Okay.
Terry.
Okay. No, I was just saying my wife and I have been listening the entire time via Facebook, and Mother Love gave me the link to get in. So forgive me if this may be a repetitive question. And first off, I want to say how much I appreciate your journey and everything you've gone through, because we're living that now as parents with our young artists. And I'm a person of a certain age, and trying to understand this new way that music is being listened to. How do you stay connected or reach an audience where it's becoming more and more challenging for your stuff to get out there in this new wave of listening to music or consuming music?
Well, the music industry in particular is probably the most expensive industry to break into. For an artist that's unknown to break into the industry, it can cost $200,000 to $300,000 to fully market and fund your music so where it's nationally getting the attention that it needs. If you can blow up on Instagram or TikTok and you have millions of followers, or maybe a couple 100,000 of followers, you can possibly grab the attention of a label, or another company will want to invest money into growing your business. But right now, the easiest way to really break through is just to put your music out consistently and to make sure that it's competitive. Because a lot of artists out here, they're putting music out every day, but it's not that great. So the first thing is make sure that you have music that's really competitive and really great. And you want to probably put some money into advertising, social media campaigns. You might want to find an influencer, somebody that's got a lot of followers that can post your music, that can get your music into a lot of different platforms. I've had the privilege to work with a couple influencers to kind of push my music on social media platforms. But you want to make sure that you're researching who is their audience.
Right.
Is their audience my audience? So if you have an audience that is a gospel audience, you might want to say, okay, what kind of people like Kirk Franklin or Tasha Cobbs? Let me market to that demographic. But if you're a rap, you might want to say, okay, well, rap is mainly catered towards males between 18, 25. You might want to figure out, okay, who can I push my music in front of that can kind of talk my music up that has that particular audience. So it's all about kind of like finding your right demographic for your product.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Other questions? Thanks, Terry.
Jerel, I'm interested in how you got to your journey as you got into the business side of this piece. You know, as you were honing your product, you began to develop your network and begin some collaborations. What did that process look to get you to where you really felt like you wanted to not only own your brand, but to be able to determine how you run this business, how you run the business of Jerel and his music? Can you talk us a little bit into that? Because I think maybe particularly some of our younger artists, I know as Terry has said, he's got a daughter down in Atlanta that's she's tremendously talented. She's in that embryo stage. Would that be fair to say, that early stage of it?
Yes, totally. I will say that it is, not to sound, I don't want to be negative in any kind of way, but it is a very shady business. And when I say shady, it could sometimes be predatory. It could sometimes be, people will say, hey, I can get you here, but I'm gonna need this, this, and this, and this from you. And a lot of times those people don't really have the network or the connections or the know-how to do those things. There are a lot of people that have businesses that are, I'm gonna get you to a record label, I'm gonna get you signed, I'm gonna get you this, but they don't really have that real connection. So I would say, just be very careful who you put your trust into, and make sure that they have a real track record first. Find out what their track record is first before you really invest your time and money in somebody. Find out what they've actually accomplished. For me, I had the privilege to be under a couple people that have already had successful projects. I was a ghost producer for somebody that I grew up with. He was getting placements on major artists, and I was learning the inside business through him, but I didn't really have a say-so in the business dealings. I was kind of like getting all the scraps. I wasn't really getting the real income that he was getting, but he was kind of just like, hey, just follow my lead. I'm going to show you around, and but those aren't the kind of situations that you want long term. You want to learn the game from somebody first, but then once you get a hang of it, you want to find a way to break free and then do your own thing. And it took me a couple of years to just learn through other people, kind of being a sidekick, kind of being a Robin to somebody else being the Batman. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And learn the ropes, learn the key players of certain entities. And then once you feel confident, then you start investing in yourself and going your own way. And that's what I did.
Now, what stage would you introduce someone who's actually managing your business or promoting your business? What stage would you introduce that type of an individual into your business structure or your platform? Or would you?
I think a lot of artists they go and they get a manager too early.
Okay.
They get a manager before they have anything to manage. And the only reason you need a manager is because you're just running around doing so much that you can't keep up. And you need to have another person to kind of help organize it.
Mm.
But if you don't have any shows, if you don't have any endorsements, if you don't have any deals on the table, you probably don't need a manager yet. You probably just need to just go to the studio, record a couple songs, put them out, see what people say, but hold on to your money. Hold on to your money. Wait for your buzz to get bigger. Wait for your shows to line up, your opportunities to line up. Wait for the deals to show up. Then you could say, okay, well, I'm going to give this guy 20% so he can manage my business now.
Mm.
But some people do it too soon and they end up owing money to somebody that hasn't done anything for them.
Yeah.
so I would advise just grow it on your own as long as you can until you can't maintain it on your own.
You spurred, I don't mean to hog, but you spurred one other question when you just said that.
Yeah.
How do you protect in this new day? How do you protect your product from being, putting it out there on social media? You crafted this genuine stuff here. I mean, what's to make me not go out there and steal your tune and put my name on it? Other than I'm gonna have to show up.
Well, there's something called there are copyright laws that say music is like automatically copywritten once it's created. Like if I record a song on my computer right now and I send it to myself in an email, that's already on record as being an original file that I created, and nobody else possesses that file but me. But if you take that file and you put it online and you say it's yours, then I have the right to contest that, and I could sue you for that. I could. It doesn't happen often, but there have been a few friends of mine that have released music that has been copied by other people, and there were some lawsuits. But eventually, you probably will lose your lawsuit because people do sue a lot nowadays over that kind of stuff. So I don't think you would have a problem, though. I don't think you would have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a really good question, because I was wondering about the legal protection too. I didn't know that you could still do that when it's your product, mail it to yourself, and that you are the original owner of that content, regardless, and no one else can question that. So
yes, I mean, that's probably like what you consider a poor man's copyright, but they're still legit. They still work that way.
Mm-hmm.
But any digital file format that's been created previously, it's already copywritten from its creation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Jerel, so you've really diversified your brand, CEO, producer, recording artist. So do you
Yes.
find that because you've diversified your brand that will give you a better opportunity to network within the industry, because you have, so many contributions that you bring to the table? So has that helped you in making further connections and advancing your career? Yeah.
Definitely. Now, there's another aspect that I wanted to include in my business, and the performance side of music. This is independent from the recording side, but the performing side, I would play in a lot of bands. I would play in a lot of groups where I was just kind of like helping out, playing keyboard or singing vocals. And I signed to an agency, and the agency booked me at MGM National Harbor. So I performed at MGM National Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of big artists would come to town. John Legend came to town, Anita Baker, Anthony Hamilton, and I would be the after party performer. And I did it for about 2 years. So it was a good networking situation for me.
Okay.
But it was 2 hours away. and the pay wasn't really that great. You know, it wasn't that great for what I wanted, but I felt like it was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But during COVID-19, there was another business that wanted to hire me for something. And they asked me, you know, what my fee was. And they were like, well, you know, you can charge us way more than what you're charging. And I'm thinking, whoa. This number? And they're like, yeah, that number.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, well, I never even thought that, you know, my fee could be that number. But what I did was I realized that I've been under an agency this whole time. The agency, they oversee all the artists.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably getting a certain amount,
Sure.
and then they give a percentage to all of their singers.
Yeah.
And most singers just say, okay, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
But me, I was thinking more, you know, why do I need to go through an agency? Why can't I just have my own business? Why can't I just create my own production company, my own company where I buy my own sound equipment,
Mm-hmm.
I get my own instrument, and I just independently work with companies one-on-one.
Yeah.
And within about a 6-month period, my income like quadrupled.
Oh, my
Just
goodness.
off of me just saying, I'm not going to work for another agency. I'm going
Right.
to have my own company and do things business to business.
Good.
And I think that's where most of my growth has come from since the pandemic, is becoming more of a
Mm-hmm.
ownership.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's been paying off so far. I'm
Love that.
doing a lot of weddings. I do a lot of weddings in the Richmond area, and I have my own sound, have my own lighting, and I'm doing business one-on-one.
Mhm. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. All right. Other questions? I can't believe you guys are quiet. Dr. Rowe, you have no questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to commend you for your achievements. I think hearing a story like yours is a huge inspiration because you spread light. You spread light to people by showing you have heart and passion in your purpose. And
Thank you.
that I get teary-eyed and emotional because that is powerful. That is
Thank
so
you.
powerful. You're welcome. You're welcome. And
Thank you.
you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't really know their purpose, you know, or their passion. And I feel that by even me listening to your story, very inspirational. So I just want to thank
I want
you.
to add on to what you your comment. About 5-6 years ago, I was in LA working with one of my producer friends, and he turned over to me and he said, whatever happened to you wanted to be an artist? Whatever happened to you wanted to do music, like seriously? And I said, you know, maybe my time has just passed. Maybe I just don't really have the stuff anymore. Maybe it's just not for me. And we were thinking like past tense, like, yeah, maybe, you know, if things were different, you know. And when I had that opportunity to open up for that artist, that mainstream artist, it kind of just said, you know what, maybe this is God's way of saying, maybe you do have a shot. Maybe you do have a chance. And you sometimes you just need that one thing that's going to give you a little bit of confidence
Yes.
to believe in yourself.
Amen. Yeah.
And once you have that one seed of faith the size of a mustard seed, you know, and that is what got me from I don't really know to I have some new music coming out this year, you know, to I have some new performances coming out this year, you know, like, you know, it's the difference between death and life, you know, it's in the power of the tone.
Yeah.
It's in the power of the tone.
Yeah. Well, amen. God is able and so are you, right? You know?
I love that. I love that. Arlene, would you like to say a few words? Yeah. There you go.
I don't have any questions, but I so enjoy your music, Jerel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
We talk about you all the time, your dad and I.
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell him that I spoke with you today.
Yeah.
All right.
Miss Glenda. There.
Sorry, I had to figure this out. Well, I enjoyed your story also, but I did have a question. You mentioned someone taking you under their wing and showing you things. Have you paid it forward and put somebody under your wing to teach them?
I really want to teach more. I haven't had a great opportunity to really show anyone to the depth of what I've been doing. My area is kind of not Richmond, Virginia, I'm referring to. Richmond, Virginia, I haven't really met anybody with the type of aspirations that I have in my area, but I'm looking to connect with other aspiring artists and entrepreneurs in other areas, maybe Chicago, maybe somewhere out there.
There you go. Amen.
Jerel,
I know someone in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he does.
Yeah, I don't think there's really, in Richmond, in my area, it's not an area where people really want to do what I'm doing. It's, if you could say, okay, who are the R&B artists that are really trying to do it? It's not really anybody in Richmond at all that's doing what I'm doing. So it's like, I had to find what's the blueprint for how to do it in my area. And I kind of had to set the blueprint. It's kind of like, I had nobody to look at and say, okay, what's he doing? How's he doing it? I had to kind of look at all the other major artists in the industry. I had to look at Bruno Mars and Chris Brown and Usher and people like that and say, okay, well, I'm competing with them. Let me figure out their format. But as far as mentoring, I would love to teach other young aspiring artists, what they could be achieving. So.
Yeah, and Chicago has a lot of opportunity, just throwing that out there. When I was younger, I used to go to the clubs. I was a little wilder back then. But
okay, watch out now.
But I remember for my genre, the Chicago hip hop, Fast Eddie, Sundance, all of them. I used to go see them. But even today, Chicago's always got a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. So Jerel, I have a question from Facebook, and then I believe Kim Johnson wants to ask you a question as well. So from Facebook, Valerie is asking this question: do you prefer performing or writing and producing?
I would say I love them both. I would say performing is probably more rewarding because you get to see how people are responding to what you recorded and produced. You can see how it affects them and how they respond to it emotionally, how they connect with it on the dance floor, if they're dancing to it, vibing to it. You can totally change somebody's day just by performing a song, just like that. So,
I love that. That's good. Yeah. Thank you. Miss Johnson. Kim.
How do you know that I have a question, Dr. K? Hi, Miss Glenda. Hi, Rev. Hi, Dr. Roy. I get to see so many familiar faces on this Friday night chat. Thank you so much, Jerel, for sharing your testimony of how you got into the music business. I have a 9-year-old and he does not want to break into the music business at all, but he's been taking piano lessons since he was 6 for the last 3 years. And I feel like I'm trying so hard to get him to appreciate music. And I think he does have appreciation, but I think he does it for me. And I keep wondering, should I make him continue? Because I feel like it's good for him just to have something to do, a hobby. And I'm hoping one day that it will just click for him. And I don't need him to go on and become the next Stevie Wonder or anything like that. Really, I just would like for him to play a nice jazz or classical piece for me to show off to my friends or something one day. But I noticed that you said when you were, I think 12 years old, that's when you kind of developed a love or passion for your artistry. Any thing that I can maybe do for my son? He loves video games and he likes the music that's in the video games. So I do encourage him, like, create your own video game music, and he'll play around for 15 minutes and then he'll be like, I want to go play video games.
I think music creation has changed so much over the past 20 years. I think parents should start reevaluating what is that instrument that is going to connect with your kids today, in today's world. I think piano is a classical instrument. It's probably the most fundamental instrument, but it's not the most relatable instrument right now, in my opinion, to the average kid growing up. Music right now is digital. It's produced on computers. It's produced on drum machines. It's produced on programs like FL Studio, and which is basically you're clicking beats with a mouse. You're finding beats on the screen, and they're making a drum beat with clicking on a mouse. And you can instantly create beats that remind you of songs that are on the radio right now. How you doing, man?
He said hi.
Hello. Can I be allowed part of this? I need to copy some songs. No.
Let me ask him a question. Who's your favorite music artist?
Come here. He wants to ask you a question.
Huh? Who's your favorite music artist?
CG5?
CG5 music artist?
Yes.
Who is that? Charlie?
Well, no, it's not the famous kind. He is famous, but he's the fifth.
See, Charlie Green?
The fifth.
Okay, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with that, but what I will say, it's easier to learn something that you like.
Right.
So if it might not be the piano itself. It could be maybe what he's playing on the piano. He might not like the song that he's playing. It could be maybe I like this Ty Dolla $ign or this 2 Chainz or Big Sean or Drake, Kendrick Lamar, or somebody like more modern. Maybe I want to learn a song that's current, today's music.
Right.
And maybe I would want to have something with some bass, with some, something with some, some bass lines, things like that. Something that he can kind of relate to that reminds him of current music of today. And that might be something that he could do every day and just do it for fun and just enjoy it.
That's a great idea. He was into Disney Fantasia, and I had asked his piano teacher if she could find some music from Disney Fantasia. And then we kind of dropped the ball on that, but you're absolutely right. Thank you for that. And then Dr. K, I'm listening to him speak and his pitch, and he doesn't sound out of breath. We're working on my speaking ability. And I'm like, do I need to take vocal lessons?
That's all a part of your communications class.
Give my speeches. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime.
So I have one more question.
Okay.
It's from Valerie again. She says, what do you think would help you reach children? And perhaps this is, what is the blueprint for them to learn more, but they may not know how to build to the level you are? That's a multi-level question there. Let's see. So what do you think would help you reach children? What's the blueprint? Maybe we'll start with that.
What would help me reach children?
Yeah, I'm thinking she's thinking maybe more of a mentoring relationship or building some type of structure or blueprint for children. So that they can maybe build their music careers as well.
I would say definitely meet them where they are. Meet them where they are. The music that we grew up with or I grew up with, it might not be relatable to them. Mm-hmm. So first we have to just take ourselves out of our own, comfort zone and say, okay, what are y'all vibing to right now? Yeah. And find a way to understand what the bounce is. Because right now it's all about TikTok. TikTok is the new way for children to connect with music. Mm-hmm. And it's fundamentally really the musical promotion platform. It's where all the music is organically growing. Mm-hmm. So I would say understanding how to navigate the most current platforms like TikTok. But then once you learn that, you have to understand the music industry. And that part is not as fun. It's not as fun. It's not a pretty industry to really study and learn. You have to be willing to read. You have to read. You have to read some books. You have to look at some instructional videos. Maybe you have to go to YouTube and you have to look at some videos on how the industry works. There is really no way to really get around learning the business, because the fun part is just the creation and just the dances and all that cool stuff. But if you want to monetize it, you do have to learn music business 101. But you also need to learn business 101, just business in general. How do you start a business? How do you open a business? You have to understand taxes. How do you set up your taxes? I mean, all of this stuff is boring. But if you want to know how to make money and make a living in anything as a business owner, you have to really learn the fundamentals of business. So I would say, if you don't want to learn that stuff, if you want to just stick to just the fun part, you want to connect with a business savvy person that can help break it down for you. So
someone you can trust. Yes.
Somebody you can trust. If your mom and dad or somebody in your family wants to take on that role to learn the business, I would say that would be a good way to go. Because if you're in middle school, you're not going to really have the capacity to really get in depth into the industry like that.
Right.
But your mom or dad might be able to help you with that. And I would suggest getting your relatives to help you with that.
Yeah. So Michael won't mind me sharing this story. When he graduated from high school, he wanted to make his first CD to get away from his crazy Christian parents. So we made a deal with him in order to qualify for the Love Scholarship. You have to know everything about the music industry.
Oh.
Yeah, but he went into marketing and then law school, so a different trajectory. Yeah.
It's the thing about the industry, it's changing every day. It's things changing every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, Jerel, I want to thank you so much for being a part of Friday Night Chats. You could have done anything in the world, and you're spending time with us. So I so appreciate it. And so I want you to just share with us how we can all get in contact with you. How can we support you in your projects? Just let it roll.
Yes, I have a project coming out this year, and I will be doing some shows all around the area. And I would like to connect with all of my supporters through my website, Official Jerel. And there is a page on my website called VIP. And that is for all my supporters to subscribe and follow me. And you'll get emails and alerts when I release all of my music and when I'm performing in your area.
Okay, very
so
good.
Official Jerel.
Official Jerel.
And then you'll see a section called VIP.
VIP, and you sign up. Okay. All right. So everybody got that information? We are ready to close out. Thank you once again. Yes, thank you once again for joining us.
You guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great night.
All right, you too, hon. Okay. God bless.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Let's see, how do we end? There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's still on. There you go, Dad.